Happy secular Sunday, you unholy heathens. How y'all doing out there?
Hello, hello. It's the last day of June. I hope all is well.
Yes. Back when I was pastoring, this would be the fifth Sunday. And not for any particular reason. There was no scripture that led to us doing this, but on fifth Sundays at Kingdom Central, it was actually Family and Friends Day.
Yeah.
And that was always my favorite Sunday.
Everybody show up. You have a little food.
We always have food. Yeah. Absolutely. We always did like potluck style food, and it was like amazing. And like everybody would be so energized, so the music would be dope and all of that great stuff. So I loved it. Well, listen, thank you all for joining us for our 12th consecutive week of Sunday sessions. You know, I guess after a while we'll stop counting. But the truth of the matter is, I'm so surprised that we've made it this far that I'm humbled, I'm amazed, I'm happy. I'm glad that we're actually able to do something that's bringing value. Hello, everybody. Woohoo! All right, so let's kind of jump into this. Of course, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell so you can be notified. Consider joining our community. You can do so on Patreon. You can do so through YouTube. You can now also join us on Discord, where we're still experimenting, learning how to do some things. And we've had just an incredible amount of help this past week from Titanus and Assalon. I hope I'm saying it right. I can't read it. It's squiggly words, and I got old folks' eyes. And of course, also consider volunteering, which we always talk about in these. And y'all know we have merch, and I realize we never show y'all the merch. So today we're going to show some merch. Now you can look at this merch on my YouTube channel, but today I want to show you the merch directly from the site, which is Teespring. Yep. But there's the sacred cow thing that I've mentioned so many times. Can I change the color? Yeah, there we go. And you got it in cups and stuff.
Oh, I like the blue.
Yeah, isn't that nice? It's dope. You like the blue? Let me click the blue. That's the sacred cow. Oh, you were talking about the Think Responsibly. Yeah. The Think Responsibly is dope, right? It is one of my favorite designs. Because that's the thing. People should think responsibly. We also have the stickers, the decals. Does that make me sound old that I call them decals? Because they just call them stickers here. And then we also have apparel with those.
I like the black.
That black is dope, right? The Think Responsibly black. Gotta love the black. Gotta love the black. And I like the Think Responsibly pink too. That's dope. And I love the Keep Rising. I love the Sacred Cow Grill Master in whatever color it comes in.
And I was teasing my husband that we need to make a poor fella shirt. So.
Oh yeah. You know what?
And yikes.
And yikes. We need to do yikes, poor fella, and preach. Damn it. Yeah. But so we did want to show you those. So that's what the merch looks like because we realized we had never showed you all the merch. All right. So enough of that. Let's kind of get into some of these announcements. I'll start these off. If you signed up to volunteer, please read the guide and let us know in Discord. And just to kind of give like a little call out or a highlight. Hospitality team is something that's really important to us. It's the homemakers team. You'll see it in the volunteers guide. And that means we're looking for people who are passionate about hospitality and helping people feel welcomed and expected. That's a big one. You'd have to read my first book to know why that's important. I'll talk about that though. And really up to the challenge of translating that into digital experience. We really want to be as intentional about that as possible. So if that's something that's in your bandwagon, hey, let us know. If that's in your bag of tricks, your bag of skills, your bag of abilities, what may have you, then, hey, let us know. We'd love to have some help there. Yes to the poor fella shirt. Okay, it's done. Say no more. Say less. It's done. We're having a poor fella shirt. It's coming. Let's see here. Oh, of course, check out last week's Sunday session. We closed out our How to Human conversation, which means we've done 2 full conversation series. And so that makes me happy.
And if you didn't catch group therapy this past Thursday, oh man, it went for like 2.5 hours. We were just having some great conversations. So go check that out. Thank you to Maya, Tom, and Volsi for jumping in as well.
Yes.
Always a good time.
It was really great conversation, man. And what I love about the group therapy conversations is that we'll set up a topic and we'll set up an outline, but we try to keep that outline really loose and fluid so that we can actually just kind of engage the conversations, kind of like we do right here on Sunday sessions. Also order the new book. Christ Held Up is out. It's on Amazon. Again, for those of you who have family members, friends who are believers, but you can engage in honest dialogue in good faith, and you want to be able to have that conversation without feeling like you're attacking them, this is probably a great resource for that, because this book is about one of the most important one of the most important events of the Christian faith. And in my book, in this book, I'm not necessarily arguing from an evidence standpoint, which is safe for engaging with Christians. I'm having a conversation from an exegetical standpoint, from actually unpacking the scripture and showing how, based off of scripture, that many of these people have had a misunderstanding about this whole idea of a second coming in the first place. So I don't even have to point to the evidence of this being ridiculous. Otherwise that would be easy for everybody. People don't come back from the dead. And if somebody saved the world 2,000 years ago, the world would be saved. Hello. All right. So, and also I have another book that'll be coming out hopefully by the end of the year. We don't have a title for this one yet. The working title is My Life as an Atheist. That actually won't be the title. But that book is 11 chapters long, and it's actually going to be walking through the past 10 years of my life and basically kind of walking through what moved me from being a closeted atheist and being a silent atheist to being a very vocal atheist. And so that one is going to be a great one. So be on the lookout for that one. And have y'all seen the restream experiments we've been doing on the channel?
Yes, thank you to those who've been tuning in late at night, early in the morning. We definitely appreciate it.
Man, thank you all so much. It's been beautiful. We're still testing it out. I think yesterday's was the first one that we actually let run for a full 24 hours. And it was incredible. Who held up Christ? Robert.
Funny.
You know what? And what's funny about that, Chris? I don't know if you've ever seen the movie with I think it was Jamie Foxx called Held Up. That's literally the like that was the graphic that I actually wanted to use for that. So but yeah, so keep your eyes on the channel, y'all. We will be restreaming content. We're experimenting more and more with it. Instead of doing it through a third party, I'm hosting the videos, all of our YouTube videos. I'm now hosting them on our website and serving them up through our website as a 24/7 stream so that we can just stream that directly to YouTube. And if that does turn out to be a very sustainable solution, then we'll definitely be offering that to some of our other friends who are also content creators. But so y'all be bearing with us while we're working on with that. And then my last part before I hand it over to you, babe, for the announcements or the community announcements is, of course, we are launching the Ex-Pastor Call-In Show. If you don't know, now you know. We'll be doing it the 1st July, or 1st July. That is past, right? The 1st July, that was a long time ago. We'll be doing it the 1st Sunday of July at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. Central Time. And then the 1st Thursday of every month after that. And then also we will likely be changing the times for our Sunday sessions as well. They may be a little earlier. Y'all let us know what you think. So we may be moving to likely 11:30, and that's just because I have some new commitments as well that I want to make sure that aren't conflicting, so that we can give our full time to this as well.
Booked and busy.
Booked and busy. All right, babe, I'm handing it over to you for our broader community announcements.
Yes, with that being said, Nurch, if you haven't checked it out, it should be close to ending now if they haven't ended already, but they have some great conversations on the book of Romans. They always have us laughing in there. Go ahead, check them out. They also have other content exit strategy that they post throughout the week as well. Also, check out Skeptic Haven. They have Let's Talk on Sundays at 7, and also course, the lovely Maya, Bad Science Sundays. You're going to get a good laugh every Sunday night if you tune into Maya's channel. So go ahead, check them out and support. We definitely appreciate it as well.
All right. So are y'all ready to jump into this conversation today? This is probably less scripted than most of our other conversations. I typically always have some type of guide or outline because I'm hyper productive. And I like to get the conversation started. And so today we're doing the getting to know us interlude, which I should have put that thumbnail in here. Yeah. But we're doing this getting to know us, and so we're going to give you a little bit more information, give you some information about us. And throughout this conversation, you are more than welcome to ask us questions. Any questions? Not to say we'll answer them all, because sometimes people ask some inappropriate questions. Just seriously, you can ask us pretty much anything. This is a Q&A. This is our way of just kind of availing ourselves to you all in the best way that we can, and us all getting to know each other.
Oh, thank you, Ben. We appreciate it.
Oh man, wow, that's incredible, Benjamin. Man, much love,
my
brother.
Favorite Church of Skeptics and Progressives. Cheers and have a coffee on me.
Come on now, look at that. That's wonderful. And I love that because Benjamin hit the nail on the head. That's a major part of what we really want to be, is a place for skeptics and progressives to have community without superstition, and a way for us just to be people towards each other, to be human. That's the conversation we just got out of last week, is how to human. And so in this conversation, you're going to learn more about us two as humans. And I guess because I already got the mic, I'll kind of start. And we'll start with our family. And again, while we're just kind of talking through, please feel free to ask us any questions. It doesn't have to be relevant to what we're saying. You may have had some curiosities about us that didn't necessarily fit some of the conversations we were having before on Sundays. So this is literally a free-for-all. Whatever you got, we're going to talk. Throw it in there. And hell, we may have some conversations for you too. Some questions for you too. So I'll kind of describe myself as a, prior to us being married, as a serial pastor. Singing was my kind of inciting passion. I've been singing ever since I was a child. My mother loved music when I lived with her, and so she she used to always have music playing, and it was always like oldies, hole in the wall stuff. Like I remember this song called I'm Trapped, I'm Caught Up. It was like old school music. In the middle. And it was always about cheating, of a two-way love. It was always about cheating. But then there was movies like Sparkle, which I remember watching when I was extremely young. And I was just like, oh my goodness, it was just the passion they connected to wanting to make it in the music business. And then the 5 Heartbeats.
It was the 5 Heartbeats for me. That was my childhood.
5 Heartbeats. The Temptations, and then so much that we watched, so much of our Black shows featured music prominently. Yeah. A lot of them, there was always a choir scene somewhere in it. I remember Living Single, Kyle and Khadijah sang at whatchamacallit's wedding, and so music was everywhere for me. And not only that, but then as a child who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, children's entertainment was highly musical.
Yeah.
Like, do y'all remember the intro to Captain Planet? Like, that track was so freaking dope. Like, man, Captain Planet, he's the hero. Like, y'all don't remember this? What? Captain Planet was like, the big point is music was everywhere.
Yeah, for me, that one the Family Matters episode, do the hustle. Okay. They were doing like a little dance, and not Steve Harvey, Urkel. Yeah. Doing the little, you remember it? Oh. Dance, and they all started doing Urkel dance.
Do not remember this. I do not remember this. Oh man, 3 a.m. Yikes. That's right, because Chris is in the Philippines.
Thank you for being up.
Thank you for being up. Like, yeah, man, this is a sacrifice for you. Oh man, that's beautiful. But yeah, so I got started with singing. Singing was a huge passion for me, and church was a great outlet for that. And so singing, music, and then preaching has been a major part of my life. You know, even before I was even before I was a Christian. Right? That's what I said. That's dedication. That's what I said. And then preaching, like, and I jokingly told somebody else this, and they thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But this is my God honest truth. Like, I was 7 years old, and hanging out with your friends, and we, again, I grew up in a crack epidemic, so we just hanging out. And we're having a conversation. Everybody talking about what they want to be when they grow up, and when it got to me, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a preacher on the weekends and a porn star during Monday through Friday. That was my goal. I mean, and the thing is, like, I wasn't a Christian, I wasn't a believer. I at that time, at those early ages, I actually believed that much of that stuff was mythology and just fantasy. Preaching to me at those early ages was a community role, not a spiritual role. And you will find that in many Black churches, that's how pastors are treated. The spiritual stuff is just kind of tolerated in the background. The question is, are you gonna marry me? Are you gonna bury me? Are you going to show up at my children's graduations when I'm in the sick room? When you be there? It was very much this communal position that I definitely, I was like, full-time pastor. Doesn't it? Oh damn! Now I want to write that show. Now I want to write the show. And so, of course, at a young age, I did get saved. I don't know. I never got saved. Never got saved from anything, but I did get saved. I gave my life to the Lord Jesus Christ, made him the head of my life, and I became very passionate about that. And so that's why I kind of describe myself as a serial pastor, because one of the first ministries that I started was the campus ministry, and it was actually where you and I met.
In ninth grade.
In ninth grade. FIRE stood for fervent and passionate, righteous, and effective. And what's funny is, before all of that, I had started like several music groups, because Chaz and I in DC, we had a music group called Unlimited DC. I had a group in Dothan called the Four Aces. I don't know what the fuck that was. Like, the Four Aces. Told you it was the Five Heartbeats and the Temptation movies that was messing me up, man. But started FIRE, fervent and passionate, righteous and effective, at Gwen Park High School, and it did fairly well. And then, of course, I moved. I ended up going to 4 different high schools, and so at the last high school I went to, I started another group called UPS, United Postal Service. No, United Prayer Service. United Postal Service is actually what it really is, our parcel service. But we started UPS. It was like United or Universal Prayer Service or whatever. Yeah. And that actually lasted fairly well. I think that campus ministry is still going on at that school. It actually led to a revival at the school. So I was like this revivalist guy. I felt really good about myself. Started the Levitical Project, which was a group of musicians and singers that we could take with us when we go into these little revivals and things. And I'd preach up a storm. And then started my first church, which is not one that I talk about a lot, because it was a massive failure. And that was Greater Love Covenant Church in Jacksonville, Florida. We actually stole our first building, and literally we stole our first building. Y'all will likely get to meet a brother by the name of Javon sometime, but he was very close to me back in those days. He was one of my musicians, and we had started the church using this out of a library building. And the library just wasn't amenable to some of the things we wanted to do. Yeah. And then we found this abandoned building that was like partially constructed and partially not. And so we started kind of trying to find the owners of the building, and could not find the owners. So we just moved in.
You were a real soldier for Christ.
Went in with a screwdriver, opened up the door with the screwdriver. And then one day, while we were having service, and again, this church was a massive failure, so it wasn't like there was a lot. I sound like the Suge Knight of churches right now. It's bad. We don't but one day while we were having service, the owners of the building pulled up and to say, what's going on here? And then we told our story, like, hey, we moved from Dothan to start a church here, and we felt like the Lord told us that this was our building. We did our due diligence to try to find out who the owner was. We could not find the owners. So we started having service here. And do you know what those people said to us, looking at us? Thankfully, they were Black, so the police weren't called, but they literally looked at us and said, hey, I'm from Eufaula, which is like right up the road from Dothan. It's like, I'm a believer and I'm a Christian and I believe you. So keep using this building as long as you want. my mind was blown. Like it was,
Doing
man.
the work of the
Yeah, well, see, but I was convinced that we were walking by faith and not
Yeah.
by permission. You heard me? But anyway, so Greater Love Covenant Church did not do very well. It partly because I needed to move. My first child was being born in Jacksonville. I had no family there, so needed to move. So I moved back to Dothan. Went back to one of my mentors' church, which is actually I used the word mentor for him, but I realized I've never called him a mentor before. Because he's so far back in the history, and I won't say his name. And I don't know if I won't say his name because I don't want to shame him, or if I'm embarrassed that he was ever my mentor in the first place. Not that any of y'all would know him, but somebody. What's going on? Hey, paying homages in the building. But so I moved back to Dothan, started going to that church for a while, then realized like, nope, pastoring is still in me. So that's when I pastored my most successful church, which was started as Kingdom International Worship Center, which as long as it was Kingdom International Worship Center, it was not successful. Here's the thing, like you start a church with nothing but black folk in it. It's not international at that moment. If everybody here lives in Dothan, is from Dothan, it was pretty bad. End up changing that into Kingdom Central.
Mr. Difficult, hello.
Yeah, Mr. Difficult. That's my homie. Been missing him. Glad to see him in here. Then started Kingdom Central, or changed Kingdom International Worship Center to Kingdom Central, which was funny because those of you who kind of know me, I'm hyper productive, so almost everything I plan out in advance. Kingdom Central was supposed to be a name, another time, and for something else. But anyway, I was meeting with a new mentor, and his church was in Birmingham, and I went up there and took my whole team up there, and we just kind of watched some things. And the first thing he said to me, well, it wasn't the first thing, but one of the first things, he was just like, hey, what's the name of your church? And I was like, Kingdom International Worship Center. And he was like, you need to change that. And I was like, all right, it's changed. And so I changed the name of the church that day. But the name is something that I'd already had in pocket. And Kingdom Central was probably the most formative parts of my years. I learned so much during that aspect. I became known as the hood pastor during that time. And probably became somewhat radicalized. Kingdom Central probably is what turned me into an atheist, is being involved in the community very heavily and seeing things happen. Prior to pastoring Kingdom Central, my work in ministry was very removed from community. I want you to think about that. Prior to my work with Kingdom Central, my work in ministry was highly removed from the community, in the sense that prior to pastoring, oh man, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's hilarious. Oh man. But before I started pastoring Kingdom Central, it was just spiritual stuff. So I was apostle, prophet type of guy. And so I just came in and I preached, and everything was about prayer, and everything was about the gifts of the Spirit, and everything was about, laying hands and healing and all of that type of stuff. But when I started pastoring, it was like, man, these people are living real life though. You got people who are dealing with domestic violence. You have people who are dealing with economic issues that they can't get past, generational poverty. You have people who are dealing with mental learning disabilities, which was a huge shocker for me. Like when I was pastoring, the amount of people who we ended up encountering who had learning disabilities, and they were just kind of being overlooked and just kind of passed over. And so those years, I think, kind of radicalized me towards humanism for sure. Because I was forced to pay attention to a lot. I sat through a lot of counseling sessions where I was just like, what I'm supposed to say to you is not going to help you. I sat in counseling sessions where, like, I'm supposed to tell people, hey, just pray about it. Your marriage is going to work out. When literally what I should be telling you is like, hey, neither one of you are mature enough for a marriage, and it's okay to realize that. It's okay to recognize that. There are healthy ways to plan your exit, and still not, but it beginning seeing that more and more was like it was a major turner for me. And then of course that last year I wrote my first book, Insignificant, which that is also out on Amazon. The funny thing about Insignificant, when I wrote it, that was the name. The name was Insignificant. The name of it today is Significant, because that was the battle that I was going through in 2014, is really trying to find my own sense of significance. Because through deconstructing and deconverting, I had realized that I'd given so much of my life away, and I had wasted so much of my time. And I was really having to wrestle with a lot of the decisions that I had made. And so that produced that first book. So I've talked a little bit enough about me and my individual background. Baby girl, I'm passing over the pulpit to you.
Not no pulpit. All right, let's start. I'm 37.
Oh, okay.
My birthday's August 1st.
Go ahead.
Holla. Okay. No.
Coming on up.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I was raised in the DMV area. I was raised in a single parent household. My mom at one point was married to the person I call dad, is really my stepdad. She was married to him for only 2 years. And so honestly, it wasn't too bad of a childhood if you just look at the general side of things. My mom was working in legal administration. So when she came to DC, she picked up roles in law firms with as a legal assistant at the time. And so in my household, education was the thing for her. I could, she's like, don't bring home C's and things. And so I kind of built up a love for teaching and learning. My aunt was assistant principal. She had her PhD in education. She was another reason that I initially started that love for learning and wanting to teach and educate and train. And I actually also started dancing at 6 years old. So from 6 to 9, I was training in ballet and tap. And then I was doing pageants. Like my mom had me just trying things and like, hey, see what you like to do, see what you want to do. And so eventually I went to high school, 9th grade, as Darante said. I was a part of Fire. That's where we met. We weren't dating or anything then, but I knew him then for a short bit of time, and then he ended up leaving. But ultimately, altogether, I was in Future Educators of America. I was in gospel choir. Dancing, I became more serious in dance. So I was on the high school dance teams. In school, I was also competing. I was also performing in churches, liturgical dance teams, in separate groups. So I was very busy when it came to high school. And I ultimately went to college. Oh, thank you. I ultimately went to college at University of Maryland to study dance. And I also did gymnastics. I was on the University of Maryland Gymkhana team. And then, yes, all the things I do. And so I know Darante mentioned some of the shows that inspired him. I've watched a lot of performing arts shows, a lot of teaching, education movies like The Substitute. I don't know if you remember that that movie. Family Matters. What else? I was a 5 Heartbeats, like all the singing movies I love. I watched a lot of dancing movies, even when the plot was horrible, like You Got Served. The plots are horrible in there, but Stomp the Yard, all what was that cheer movie? Bring It On, all those things. But I love watching documentaries. I love looking at how people compete and maneuver and how they get the energy and the motivation to be successful. So I love looking at people who started one place and who was kind of like the underdog, and then they trained and did what they had to do to stand out. And that's kind of what I always wanted to do. And around 2013, are we gonna get into this now? Well, okay. So I was married previously and divorced. I brought in two daughters to the relationship with Darante and I was going through a lot up and downs in my 20s, but what I really had a growing passion for was community advocacy. And like, what can I do to contribute all that I learned? What can I don't just want to dance. I also was into law. So I took some law classes while I was in college as well, because I was seeing that we need more of me in the law spaces. We need more of me in the community doing something. And as a child being active, I understood. I'm like, I didn't get into a lot of trouble because my mom, she was very intentional keeping me. I was very active, and I was also very honed in on getting good grades and doing what I need to do. And I said, man, we need more things where it's not just about the arts per se, but also us educating ourselves and really learning. So I started uplifting our youth project. I started Warriors for Unity.
Yeah.
I started Empower with Style, and I was starting these community groups because I wanted to help to find ways to solve problems. But it's a very hard thing when you're kind of doing it by yourself and trying to get people to cooperate and group together. And so that kind of coincides with Darante was doing church, and I was more so like focused on the main general community. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you, Marco Moreno. Man, definitely appreciate the super chat. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for being here. Thank you all. This is always it's just always amazing. But yeah, that was good. Oh, and Words of a Shattered Mind.
Oh yeah, and I also wrote it's a poetry book called Words of a Shattered Mind. It's out. The version you see on Amazon now is the updated version. And basically with that, in those poems, I really kind of, for the first time, poured my heart out, because I mean, and you may kind of sense it, but I tend to be more soft spoken, or I keep a lot of things in when it comes to pain or frustrations. And I was always more of that type. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or I didn't want to step on any toes, or I would a lot of times consider other people's feelings more than mine. And writing the book, Words of a Shattered Mind, helped me to spill all of that out for the years of what I've seen or what I've been through. And so
I love it. All right. So moving on to the next part is just the melting pot of our marriage, which some of that you kind of hit, and that is, we were both divorced. I had a previous marriage. She had a previous marriage. We both had children.
Mine was short.
Yep. How long did yours last?
Less than a year.
Less than a year. Mine lasted 8 years. 8 years. I tried my hardest. I really, really did. Learned a lot. But so because of that, we have a blended family, which was very odd in the beginning because 2 of our children are roughly the same age.
Yeah, people used to
so people always think they're twins, and every time we're like, well, they're not exactly twins. It's like, well, how? And then you have to get into this really awkward conversation. So I just started saying, like, yeah, they're twins. Sure. Actually, there's a word for that in the projects called Project Twins.
Yeah.
They have those. I mean, there's a different little situation for Project Twins, but the math is around the same. But I think that for each other, we both represented something old and yet something new at the same time.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen each other in years.
In a long time.
And I think that kind of gave us the right amount of comfort and adventure that we both needed. So it's insane. If you have time for the question, how do you write a book? Oh man, you just write it. That's the first part. And you wrote your book before I wrote mine, because yours was released in 2013, right?
Yeah, and I actually just wrote it in one setting, if you will. Like, it was just a summer. I'm like, I want to write this, and I'm going to get it out. And I just researched self-publishing. So I ended up self-publishing my book, and I never self-published before. Never didn't really get any advice as far as external. I just researched and I found out I can self-publish through Create Space, which was Amazon's thing at the time. And how I wrote the book, I basically got a journal and was starting to write, because I like to write pen to paper. My husband always laughs at me about this, but I like to write stuff down. And so I started, and I always wrote poetry. Even when I was younger, I had my poetry featured in like the National Society of Poetry that they used to have in our schools. And so I would just take my journal and I would write as it comes to me, my thoughts and how I wanted to articulate it through rhyme. And then as I started to write, I was like, okay, I got something here. Let me put this together in the book. And once I had all the pieces in the poems, then I wrote the introduction and conclusion.
Yep. How old am I, babe? The answer.
38.
I am 38.
We both were born in 1986, but he was born in May. I'm a Leo, if you haven't. No.
And just for anybody who wants to write a book, the biggest piece of advice that I would give you is write it for you.
Yes,
like
yes,
if you don't have a large network and you don't have a publishing deal or anything like that, then don't even make that your focus. Yeah. Just write it for you. There's a book you want to write. For me, all of my writing is therapeutic, whether I'm writing nonfiction or fiction. I'm writing it for me. I'm writing because I have these thoughts and I want to see these thoughts on paper. And I want to see the conclusion of these thoughts. And so that's literally the first step, is just writing it down and then seeing if you like it. Yeah. And then after you see if you like it, edit it, which is quite easy nowadays with tools, whether you're using Grammarly or ChatGPT. Oh, snap. Oh, that's what's up. May 21st. Yeah, gotta love the Mays.
Nice facts. That's so so true. Gotta have it, bro.
Man, it's insane. It's insane. But yeah, so just write. Write it, and then Kindle, which baby girl called Create Space, that's what it used to be. It's now Kindle Direct Publishing. And you upload it. You follow the instructions. Again, use stuff like Grammarly, ChatGPT. There's some other focus tools out there to help you edit. I would not advise using ChatGPT to help you write, but helping you think, great tool. Helping you think through some things, especially for those of you who want to do fiction. But even those of you who are writing things, whether it's like a memoir or whether it's more academic, ChatGPT can help you find sources that are relevant to what you're trying to talk about. Just verify them. I feel like that shouldn't have to be said, but in a world today where people are like, oh no, ChatGPT can give you wrong information. No, duh, people can give you wrong information. You should never, your default position should never be that somebody's giving me good information. Your default position should always be that this needs to be verified.
If you were my brother, I would be so proud.
Oh man, that's beautiful. Like, oh man, y'all don't make me.
And I think a great way to start for like those who want to write a book, because I think we kind of hold ourselves.
For sure.
At the time when I was writing Words of a Shattered Mind, I wasn't necessarily thinking about marketing it or wanting a whole bunch of people to buy it. Of course, I wanted to disperse it out to my family members. So I just ended up writing it. But if you really like, okay, where do I start? And you get flustered, start with making some titles, some chapter points, or outline some things, and then go back and start filling them in as you get the main points of what you want to say. So
yep. And I'm an advocate. I don't see this happening a lot. I don't see this happening outside of television, but I'm an advocate of group writing.
Yeah.
And it's something I would like to see more of. All of the novels I've written so far were supposed to be written by a group.
Yeah.
When we first started doing work, and some of the things we'll talk about a little bit more today, that was one of my goals. One of my goals when we first launched with the idea of Freedom House, the goal was to have a team of volunteer writers who were sharing different storylines and writing them together. So that way we could get more books done faster, but also have a diversity of thoughts and a diversity of opinions represented in the book, and worldviews in the books rather. And then, real life lawyer turns into ChatGPT nonsense and had to be called out by the judge on using. Man, it probably has to be said. Wait, and that is really sad. It's an educational problem where people don't know. You're supposed to check your sources. Like that's like, I've known that since 8th grade. I've known that since 8th grade that you're supposed to verify your sources. So I don't, I know that people don't do that, but yikes. But yeah, so group writing is something I'm a big advocate of.
Yeah.
But also, I think one thing that y'all will recognize about me, I am so much about raising the standard that I think a lot of the problems that get called out are called out because we have lowered the standard. The
Right.
only way unverifiable information keeps getting shared is if you have a whole bunch of people whose default position is not to share information. I'm in legal too, and it's such a big deal. I was going to ask. Oh yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, it's like it's funny because when we had run-ins with other lawyers, pro bono lawyers, and the ones you just assigned to, you realize how many people don't know the law, whether it's in their local city law or their state law or just in general. And so that's one thing we stress to our kids is to know your rights, know the law where you are, because a lot of people
Just know how to get information.
yeah, know how to get information in general and resources.
That's it. Learning how to know.
In college, we used to use what, LexisNexis.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, peer review. Yes, yes. Oh man, that's so funny. That is so funny. It actually makes me think about quite a bit. But that is a passion of mine, is getting people to raise the standard, instead of like, and y'all will hear me talk a lot about this. One of my biggest disappointments in humanity is that we keep existing like 500 years of advancement hasn't happened. That was my issue. That was one of the reasons I stopped being a believer, because believers, that's real talk. People don't know police need a warrant to search it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. But that was my problem with believers, is that we were living like 2,000 years of advancement in history and understanding that hadn't happened. And so a lot of times when I look at people, like almost the majority of the time when I talk to people, it's always we can't do, we can't do, we can't do. And I'm like, what the fuck world do you live in?
Yeah.
They're like, I can't, like, why are we so adept to aiming low? After all the things that we're seeing we're capable of, why are we not pushing to raise the standard? So like, I saw this in the church world for sure. Everything was catered to, well, people have short attention spans.
Right, exactly.
You know, well, people aren't going to want this anymore. And I'm like, this is not how markets work. This is superstitious thinking that's disconnected. Like right now, this country is in political turmoil because you have two political parties that don't have to hold themselves accountable to the people, because the people are so disconnected from the political process that they believe, well, we're always just going to have to vote for the lesser of two evils.
Right.
There's nothing. It's insane. Come on now. Oh, when the police ask questions, in my experience as a white man, I've had the police still come in. Granted, I was having a mental health crisis, but they handcuffed me and everything.
Wow.
It's pretty bad. I know just from living in the South and living closer north, I've seen that problem pretty much bad everywhere. And it's definitely not to say that all are bad, but there is definitely an issue with the perception of power. Two separate wings on the same damn bird. Yes. Absolutely. No drugs, anything were involved in my case, but I was shocked because even though I wasn't mentally right, I still knew my rights. And I said to them, you can't come in. And they will do it anyway, because there's no power in one person knowing it if other people are going to sit and watch.
Yeah. And not jump in.
You know, the power of people, you know, our individualism is beautiful. I'll never take away our autonomy. But if we all know something is wrong, but we will watch that wrong thing happen, which we saw with the death of nope, the one that was killed with the crowd, George Floyd. Like that to me, there was only one person in that trial who was a human being, and that was the person who in that trial said, I feel completely horrible that I didn't intervene.
Yeah.
And that, like, to me, and forgive me if I'm getting a little choked up here, this is what I see in everything we do.
Yeah.
This is why when people in the chat start talking about socialism, communism, capitalism, for the most part, I don't want to hear it. Because either way, it's all from people who are sitting on the sidelines watching bad things happen, being more comfortable being able to point and say, I know who's doing it, as opposed to actually becoming a part of a solution.
Yeah.
Because yes, just like you, Joe, my life has been interrupted by this over and over and over again, ever since I was a small child.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's another thing that we have in common. My husband and I is we were both rebels in our own way.
Damn.
I told the teacher, I said, hey, you keep giving me a B, you're going to give me my A next month. He was messing up with my 4.0. I'm like, you know, but we're both show that tenacity throughout different spaces.
Yep.
And that's what I appreciate about my husband. It's very honorable that he stand. If you talking about standing on business, he stands on what he says, and he does it no matter what the situation, whether it's with work,
Google me,
jobs, bosses, whoever it is. What you told one job, you like, I don't get in trouble.
I don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I don't get in trouble.
We're gonna get in trouble that you know we don't sign this.
There was a time, it's purple. The racism is rude. Nothing prepared me to see the horrors of racism as an adult. And that's sad. That is just yikes. That's sad. Just to share a quick story, to give you a little bit of insight into my passion. When I was in 10th grade at Northview High School, there was a riot at the school after a talent show. I didn't really too much know what the riot was about. I know now it was competing high schools, another high school that came over. And, you know, many of us were just, that riot happened at the end of the day, many of us were just coming out of school, coming out to where the buses load. And when I walked out, I just see police who are rushing and slamming kids on the ground, and, you know, fiercely handcuffing them and throwing them into the cars and stuff. And so what I started doing, man,
appreciate
love you, man. Glad that you were able to make it. What I started doing was going to each of those students that were being arrested and collecting their parents' phone numbers. And what's your parents' names? What are your parents' phone numbers? We'll make sure we have somebody call you. You know, make sure somebody call your parents and let them know what's going on. I had 5 officers attack me, threw me down on the ground, broke my glasses, bruised my wrists. And the very students that I had put myself in harm's way to protect and to help all laughed. Now, that didn't stop me from being me. I kept being the type of person that I am. But I damn sure paid attention to that. Even worse, I ended up having to spend almost the whole night at the jail, it was 10th grader, because my mother, who has her own criminal past, was so afraid to come down there to get me out. So I literally had to wait until they couldn't hold me any longer. You know, so I've been a part of I've been a part of this fight for a very long time, and I'm telling the community the same thing that Malcolm X said, is that other people are taking credit for sitting on the sidelines while not actually helping. Oh, that's crazy.
I'm at the
Yep.
the boy that Cashapp this.
Okay, got to cash out my son some money. But yeah, so that was that. Hey, Pragmatic Crystal. Oh, now I feel like I'm missing a wing. This feels so odd. Do I need to float center screen? But yeah, and so now you kind of see that these are some of the reasons why we both have a passion for community impact. But it's also some of the reasons why I'm not as idealistic as other people about what the solutions are. I am very much so one of the type of people, like, if you haven't experimented with a solution, I don't want to hear your suggestion on a solution. If you really believe that your solution is a workable way, pull some people together and start experimenting with it. So that way you can have this conversation in good faith. I find it absolutely in bad faith when someone tries to tell me what a solution is that they haven't even tried, that they haven't tested. To me, that's the bathwater of superstition that we are still bathing in. It's just like, I heard somebody say this and this sounded like a good idea, so I think we should all do this. And I'm like, no, like these are the lessons we're supposed to be learning, that, you know, if it's a good idea, we can verify it. So let's before we get everybody bought in on it, let's verify it. Let's verify it with a small group. Like even when we want to test something, when we want to test some new medicine or some new scientific breakthrough, you don't force it on the whole population. Hopefully, you know, you want to find a test group. You know, you want to find a small group. And so we have a lot of problems in humanity. We have a lot of problems in solution in you know, just in this nation, for damn sure. But not only do we have a lot of problems, we have a limited amount of people who are actually trying to contribute, to actually trying to solve those problems on any scale. And that is, to me, problematic. Exactly. It'll have you agreeing with anything that sounds good. And you know, what the old folks used to say, paying homage, everything that glitters ain't gold. Like, I wish we would have learned that a little better, you know. But yeah. Yeah, you know, it's a beautiful thing. Oh man. Oh, much love, Chris. Man, like y'all gonna have me blushing up here, man. Oh man, this is insane. This is insane. All right, so kind of moving on a little bit until baby girl gets back. That's what I call her. Don't you call her that? I'm just playing. But no, don't. What was interesting about when we first got married is that people called it a ministry marriage. And that was partly because people knew I was a pastor, but they didn't know that I was an atheist. They didn't know that I had, they knew that I had stopped pastoring my previous church, but they just figured it was about the divorce, which I let them figure because I didn't want to have the atheist conversation with people yet. This was back in 2014 and 2015. But we were called a ministry marriage, you know, and that was, I understood, but I definitely resented it. You know, I didn't want to be a ministry marriage, but I understood. And it was because we both have a passion for community impact. It's just a part of who we are. Man, look at that. That's encouragement. Oh, that reminds me of a movie. That reminds me of a movie. Look at her. Look at her. Babe, you got to see this church they're having in here. They're having a good church.
They're having good church.
Yeah, Brother Chris gave us another offering.
Oh, thank you.
And
oh my gosh.
And look here though, Benjamin is encouraging Chris, and paying homage is encouraging Chris, and now Pragmatic Crystal is encouraging Chris, and like that's.
If we were in church, we would say, and it's going to come back 100-fold.
100-fold, okay, you know. By this time next year. Now let me stop. Okay.
Now we can if we do the work. See, I don't have a problem with encouragement because I love encouragement and motivation. I use it on myself. But the thing that I think church gets wrong, or we stop at the, oh, it's going to come back tenfold. Oh, you're going to be blessed. You're going to be up and not down. You're going to be high and not low. We stop right there. But we know that you have to put the work into it. Okay, what is my next step to get the 100-fold? What am I going to do to increase and not decrease? Hallelujah. And that's where we come in. It's like, do the work. Do the work, do it right, do your best, do the most.
That was definitely an issue that I had. I'm sure any of you who've had, I can see an old lady dancing with a fruit bag. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
People don't come back from the dead, and if somebody saved, yes, thank you. If somebody saved the world 2,000 years ago, the world would be saved. Like, yes. Oh man, Hebrew for bless you. I love it. I love it. Y'all are amazing. I had so many thoughts in that one amount of time, and like now I don't know where they went. But
that's when you preach and throw in the towel, and they're like, "Woo,
That's what it was. And that was one of the things that definitely began to bother me about the Black church in particularly, is that we had all of these anecdotes and cliches that, I'm blessed to be a blessing. I'm going to be the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, the lender and not the borrower. But we weren't teaching people any type of economics to learn how to make those things happen. As a matter of fact, the only person in many of those churches that could even possibly be true for is the pastor.
Yeah.
It is that he becomes the lender and not the borrower. Man, right. We're saving the world from God fiction. Yes. I love it. I love it.
And that's why I enjoyed one of the things we did as a couple was we started I'll call it a homeschool co-op.
Yep.
Called Chancellor Woodson, and we took in some students during the time of COVID. Because we were already working from home during COVID, so it really didn't affect us because we weren't out that much anyway. Yeah. We were already homeschooling our kids, and we offered to homeschool others because in Alabama, long as you have a religious covering in a sense or a ministry covering, you can homeschool under that covering. So you can pick any curriculum, you can create your own curriculum as long as you have that ministry covering. And we basically did that, and because of that, our children are much ahead than others. We have two kids, different ages, that are both in the 11th grade, both 4.0 students, and our oldest daughter is 2 grades ahead. So, and they both are interested in engineering, computer science, and robotics. And so we do, a lot of things that you see or we say, we put into practice, and we are seeing the results of our work. And so, it's really important. Education is really, really important in our community, in all communities, really.
Yeah, I think the all community. Like at this moment, I am definitely willing to say all communities matter when it comes to education.
Yes.
Because it's such an issue, and I don't want to. I do try to balance this out by just saying, I'm not saying the world has just gotten stupid over the past 200 years. I'm saying I think it's probably best for us to understand that stupid was the default position.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like stupid is where we started at. And I know stupid is a harsh word, but I mean, if you almost take random selection, almost any human being from 100 years ago and put them today, by comparison, you'd be like, oh, this person may not be bright. Now you might know there's a handful of others. And so when I say that, I'm not saying that stupid and smart are things that are fixed on a stagnant scale. It doesn't exist like that. It's a relative development. But if we were to look at ourselves 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 15,000 years ago, whatever, you'll see that we've been getting a little bit better about the time. Stupid has been the default position. Education is what's supposed to be helping lift us out of that, Oh man, I love it. I love it. I praise God for my atheist wife in heaven. Neither one of my daughters ever believed in God. Yes, sir. Which, man, I still got to get you on to share your story, because that's just an amazing story to me. But yeah, so you talked about the children, so that was beautiful. We have 4 of them. 4 of them.
Yes, and they're all bright children in their own way.
Oh yes, I do want to talk about that. Hit Mr. Difficulty real quick, and then we'll come back to that one. Just wanted to share that I'm sharing you and Christian friends are alike. Oh, an atheist outreach. I love it. Good for you for sharing the gospel with him. And I'm like, yeah, it's good news on the horizon. I love it. What do you all think about this trend, Oklahoma forcing the 10 Commandments and Bible study into public schooling? This is exactly what I was saying. Yes, trying to get less stupid. Yeah, that's an issue. That should be a concern. But what I want people to understand is that's not new, nor is that something that hasn't already been happening.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm not saying that no, they've been doing this before. What I need people to understand is sometimes pay attention to the math. And the math is, if you live in a country where the majority of the people identify with a particular faith, okay? This is going to be a doozy. This is going to be a doozy. And then there is a connection with belief in these things in certain careers. One of those careers is public education. There is a high correlation of Christian belief with public education, meaning that a lot of teachers are actively and adamantly Christian believers. Many of those teachers, my wife and I have both had such teachers, use their classroom to share their faith. I have had, and remember, I went to 15 different 15 different schools, 4 different high schools. And in every single one of those schools, there was at least one teacher who was publicly in ministry. I typically floated to them because I was in ministry. At Carroll High School, it was the in-school suspension teacher. He would pray and prophesy to the children who were in school suspension. At Frederick Douglass in 9th grade, it was the English teacher. Miss Mahan, she was a minister. She would often talk about the Bible and religion and Christianity in school, because for many of them, that is the default position of Americans. And that's a problem that I think needs to be highlighted more. Yeah, Frederick Douglass absolutely was an atheist. One of my favorite, as a matter of fact. I love his writings, man. Like, oh my goodness.
For me, things like that is a little tricky. If you're going to teach about all religions and you're using it as a form of to educate in a specific subject, like if it's theology class or whatever case it is, and we're teaching about all things and for the purpose of people understanding different cultures and different ways of life and different ideals, then that would be more so aligned versus trying to convert or minister to all children that are coming in.
Well, see, what they're doing, from what I understand in Oklahoma, they're trying to establish that the Bible is history, and that the Bible is foundational to this country's history. And the reason they're trying to do that, it's the same thing I point out when I talk about pastors. They're trying to do that because that's what they believe. And that's what we should be paying attention to, is that there is a healthy, play pretend. I love that. There's a healthy amount of our population that's undereducated. And so I don't know if you can even healthily rely on state education right now.
And then you talked to one of the older streams, was it Skeptic Hayden? You were talking to one of the science teachers or something? Oh
yeah, that was a call in from. Oh yeah, actually, my science teacher at Carroll High was a youth pastor.
The science teacher
did not believe in evolution, and so I think public education in this country, we've all just kind of thrown it in the trash and not paid attention to it. But I went through it as a student, and I hated it the whole way through, even as a believer. But even looking back, all of my teachers, the majority of my teachers were not only believers, but they were not shy about sharing their belief in the classroom with the students, because their understanding was that this is the default position of Americans, which is why secular communities have to be more vocal and more involved. And I hate to say it, we have to create secular solutions, because as of now, and until we have some political engines to overturn some of these states, people need a better way to educate their children, because the public education system is not the way to get it. And it's not going to be fixed in anybody's presidency. Anybody who thinks you can fix a federal public education system in a matter of 4 to 8 years is highly deluded. And so don't sacrifice your children. This is exactly why pseudoscience is making such a huge comeback. Oh my goodness. It's not a subject at all. At all. As a matter of fact, most of the teachers I had were offended at critical thinking.
Well, another issue. A lot of them aren't experts in the field they're teaching.
Mm-mm.
In my school, if it was a shortage, when it was a shortage of teachers, they moved the government teacher to teach other subjects. She was upset about it, but it's like, okay, you're gonna teach these 3 subjects this year. It wasn't based on their expertise per se.
So
except for the arts teacher. The arts teacher, they were pretty much in that field for me.
So one of the things we advocate for is parents definitely taking a more active role in their children's education, and utilizing the tools that you have. You know, there are so many different resources out here, and utilize them. Have anything to say about it? No science, right? Right. So we've definitely, you know, come a long way, man. A long way. Shouldn't be taught anywhere. A PhD in, come on now, a PhD in theology is the similar geology shouldn't be taught anywhere. Man, yes. Hey, Maya, that's Wes. Wes is in here. Wow, is this the first time we've had Wes in here on a Sunday? Man, education and homelessness, knowledge and shelter are power. Yes, man.
I love that, knowledge and shelter.
And you got to have both. You know, just giving people shelter without knowledge doesn't help. Getting people, knowledge without shelter doesn't help. Man, a whole lot of education. That was me too. That was definitely me. It's a family affair.
Yes. If you hear our kids talk, y'all would find them even funnier.
Oh, our kids are hilarious.
They're not your average children.
No, they are not. And I guess the last type of segment of this getting to know us segment, almost rather get hot. Man, oh man, okay, he just said it. He said it. And people I know that are homeless rather get high than pay rent. That this is a real issue. Yeah. Like it is a real issue. We've seen some of it. There's a guy that was actually close to my heart. One of the most talented vocalists.
Oh yeah, he could sing too.
And I mean like classical singing, like like it was like a mix of Luther Vandross and an opera, like that he was actually classically trained to sing, and life has just fallen apart for him so much that he doesn't see a way out anymore. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of want to deal with like disappointment therapy, because what you realize is that a lot of people have been so disappointed in life. Yeah. And a part of that disappointment is attached to superstition.
Yeah.
A major part of that disappointment is attached to magical thinking. So it's somebody didn't do this, nobody did this. I thought somebody was going to do this and they didn't do that. People treated me this way. And certain people, when you've come up with this ideology that that somebody is supposed to be there for me, and that life is supposed to work out for me, and that there is a God and that there is a higher power who's orchestrating those things, it makes it that much more difficult to bounce back when you get disappointed by those things. For not everybody, but for many. And I've definitely seen this amongst the homeless community, because that's where I've done a lot of my work. Greetings. That's where I've done a lot of my work. And so what they feel like is, what's the point? That's where they get to. And they literally, if God was going to bless me, he would have done it by now. And scripture says, the poor you'll have with you always. And so there are people that they have these programs and these scripts that they are running on. And I hate to say it, but organizations like AA and NA do not help, because you rob people of the ability to see the strength that they can be in their own lives. On a beer in the past. Yep, needed it to self-medicate and such to deal with my not having a job, and without a job, you are also hanging out with time on your hands to drink. One hell of a cycle, right?
Yeah.
And these are the things that I think we as a society, and just as humans, as a humanist, these are things that I think we need to pay attention to. These are things that I think we need to have more conversations around. These are things that I think that there need to be more people at the table trying to solve it. You know, for damn sure. Been there. I've been there so many times in my life. The secular therapy project is a great resource for damn sure. For damn sure. I will follow Christianity as every Christian was unemployed who's lived off of Jesus when Jesus started paying mortgage. I'm in. I know that's right. Man, next Sunday at 4 p.m.
What are you doing?
Is that me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Next Sunday.
Healthcare for all would help get more people off the street. It would be a start. It would be a start. The poor are for marketing. Oh my goodness. Just like that is. Yes.
Yes, you.
Okay. I'll have to see. I don't know. But yeah. But and I also think though, and this is, and I'm sure because I say stuff like this, so it shouldn't be a secret. I'm not a fan of any solution for people, for the most part, that puts the solution off of the people. Because to me, I find it dehumanizing. This is one of the reasons why I find it very difficult to identify as a Democrat, because the Democratic Party's communication to the Black community has been everybody else can do it except for you. And I find that incredibly patronizing and incredibly dehumanizing. And I have way too many friends who actually believe that. Who believe that they have no autonomy and that they have no agency. And it just bothers me. And I'm like, no. The majority of my life I've been homeless. Like the majority. My mother spent the majority of her life homeless. I know why. You know, I lived it. Having access to things you need to be. No, having access to things you need for sure. But we're not talking about health. We're talking about homelessness. You know? And so, and then again, as I'm saying, if you can't get that to them, are you condemning them to stay stuck? If you're saying if the other people don't change and make this accessible, are you literally saying that there's absolutely nothing they can do? And if you are doing that, then you are taking away their autonomy. Because the evolution of humanity is with the absence of stuff. Everything that we've had to generate for ourselves. We've had to create as a species. It didn't get handed down by God. And so I think once we understand that, we can become a part of the solutions and instead of the pointing people. I love it. I love it. It takes money to make money, but who makes money? What did we do before there was money? You see what I'm saying? Like, it does take money to make money, but it doesn't take money to help people. It just takes people who are not on the sidelines pointing at other people, but are like, hey, what can we do? And a part of what we can do is actually help people. Yep. Did I click it too? God will do it, right? Yes. And I think, I honestly think we've become so dependent on that. It was barter and trade. Oh, great example. We suffered. Don't buy into the myth of the perfect past. Absolutely. I've never, like, come on, Maya, you got to know me better than that. I'm not suggesting a perfect past. I'm not suggesting a perfect present. I'm not suggesting a perfect future. I'm saying that telling people that the only reason you're in this situation is because somebody else is taking away that person's autonomy. If I would have bought into that ideology, I'd still be homeless. You know, like, and I have friends who have bought into that ideology and who have the absolute capacity to change their lives and refuse to. I have a sister who is in that exact same situation. She has the capacity to change her life and absolutely refuses to. I have a mother who is in that exact same situation. I have cousins who are in that exact same situation. Absolutely. I'm not saying that's not a possible solution. I'm saying if they don't do it, what you're condemning people to homelessness. If we're not willing to talk to our homeless communities and tell them, no, you're capable, we can help you, and to pull that, if our argument is until this world does this for you, you're always going to be here, then I say that's taking away somebody's autonomy. I say it's a more powerful position to say, no matter what the fuck they do, I'm going to do what I need to do. You know? And I think this idea that the majority of people out there aren't capable of doing that is incredibly dehumanizing. And again, and I, you know, of course, I can't speak for the whole world, but I speak for the context of my community. That's one of the things that I got out of doing a long time ago. I can only speak for the things that I actually have experience with. And there's nobody who can come and tell me that my friends, that the reason they're in the predicaments they're in is because of somebody else. They're in the predicaments that they're in because they're not paying attention to life and making good decisions. And most of them, it is because they are tied to magical thinking, which is where I brought this all back to. It's the idea of magical thinking, that somebody else is going to do this for me. If I believe that there was a God who was going to make bad people do right, then sure, I'd go for it. The bootstraps argument. People are in their situations because they don't know and or don't have resources. If you can show me to somebody that that's true for, but my problem with that is I just listed all of these people in my life where that's not true for. I'm not talking about bootstraps. I'm talking about autonomy. Like, yikes. My 84-year-old grandmother gets jealous when one of her friends says, "John, was she ready?" So yeah, it's not a bootstrap argument. But again, if I have nobody in my circle who is suffering because of somebody else, what evidence would I have to buy into that ideology? If I can look around and look at the decisions that my friends have made and that my family have made, why would I point to anything else being their issue than the thing that's actually their issue? That seems to me not to actually be helping them. And that's what I would like, is something that actually helps. And I just haven't seen enough of it. People need permission. Yes. People need permission to succeed. I'm surrounded by people who are afraid to try because they're afraid of mistakes. They're afraid that it's not going to be perfect. So they lean into these ideas of intuition or of the universe or of God. And because of that, it puts them in really bad positions. And for many of my friends, I can damn near predict this. God keeps putting crack in their pipe to smoke. With all due respect, you're not a mental health professional and do not have the education to make that assessment. With all due respect, Maya, you do not know my academic background. So you'd want to be careful there. Okay? I'm a sociological professional. And I'm a person with real experience in this. So now, like, I've not tried to do anything to discount your opinion. I've just shared mine. Now, if I can respect yours, you can respect mine. You was about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say from my experience as well and this is, you know, coming from the DMV area and being down here in Alabama, where I had run-ins with homeless people or those who are lacking resources or low income jobs. Even before, after my husband, we got together, I was dealing with that with myself with 2 children. Mm-hmm. And we dealt with that together. And what I find is my husband and I both have that sense of, let me do what I got to do. Let me learn what I got to learn. Let me look up what I got to look up. Let me talk to who I got to talk to. We had made a decision at one point, was like, okay, this is the base income we need to survive at this point. And we skilled up to get to where we need to do. And we applied for those jobs to get that income. And when working with people that are, let's say, down and out, there were some who were sick and there were some who were on drugs and there are some who not. And we offered resources. We offer, even till this day, we give information of, this is where you can go to educate yourself for free. This is where you can apply to. This is how you should fix your resume. Apply to this job that I am giving, that I interview for. And not all of them, most of them won't do it. Most of them won't. not everybody wants to add more skills. Not everybody wants to learn. Some of these people down here I ran into, they will proudly say, I work for Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A gives me more money than the what's that, Wayne's Farm or something like that. But when we offer them a job that pays more, but it requires more responsibility, they don't want to take it. So I think it's a mixture of issues where we have to encourage our people to be willing to take on more responsibility, to be willing to do the things necessary that you have to do to get where you want to be. It's not easy. It's not hard. I've been there. And so I know what it is, but you'd be surprised how many of them tell us, oh, we don't want to do it. Or we say, let's get on the call. Let's show you what you need to do. And they won't do it. People have quit jobs that we have given them that they did not have, who were homeless, and they get comfortable where they are. So I think it's a mixture of things. It's so complex. And if we could put our minds together, you know.
And I just want to say, Maya, I think first, I definitely disagree here. You may not respect my opinion, but I do respect yours. I just don't agree with it, or that I don't agree that it fits my context. As I've stated, what you're saying is a narrative that I've heard. It just doesn't fit my context. It's not the reason my mother is in the situation she's in. It's not the reason my sister's in the situation she's in. It's not the reason my families are really in the situation that they're in. I'm not saying your opinion isn't invalid, nor did I say that that resources wouldn't help people. I've literally said over and over again that what happens if these people don't approve the resources? I said, what do we do in the meantime? So, you know, that's why I say, and again, people aren't meant to work. I don't know what people aren't meant to work means. I'd have to, when I hear that, I hear superstition. So when people say people aren't meant to work, according to who? What predefined rule exists at? And absolute housing, that would be a starting block, stepping stone. If you would go beyond that, you can work or study or blah. Absolutely. But the question is that happening tomorrow? There is a drive with people to work, study, or excel. Not everyone, I agree, but at least they're alive. And if they want more, there should be resources. There should be. But I also understand there is super radical, and it's never been done. And so tying people's dependency to that, I don't necessarily see that as a good idea until we know that it's something we can actually do. But just getting people to vote for it, yes. Getting people to support it, yes. I've not said anything in this conversation where I've said I would not support that. I said that's not the way that I approach it. The way that I approach it is helping those people who are in those situations learn what they can do, which is what we are. We are progressive thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming. And I've been surrounded by so many people who feel like they can't do that. That's where my messaging is helping people realize what they can do. And for those whose messaging is, I'm changing the political structure, I've never been against those. And so that's why I have to say, Maya, no, you don't respect my opinion, but I do respect yours. And so now wherever you stand on that, that's between you. But for me, I don't have to disrespect somebody's opinion because they have a different perspective, especially on something that's not grounded in anything absolute. You have a perspective, I have a perspective. Like, I don't understand that. To me, that it just sounds like church and superstition. If you don't agree that it should be done the way that I think it should be done, then you're bad and I don't respect you. That is literally the series we just got out of about how to human and understanding that other people are going to have a different perspective. And if you're going to just say, nope, I have such a good view of the world that nobody else's view matters, then it just doesn't work. You literally said you don't respect my opinion nor I yours. Those are your words. Those are your words, not mine. No, literally, I've not attacked anything you've said. I've only supported what I've said. I've never said that the way you view things are wrong, Maya. So what am I being defensive of? I'm saying I have a reason for the way that I view things. But Yeah, we've stayed here quite a long time. I didn't say disrespect. Okay. Living in my car because I wasn't on meds, that would work yet. Yep. I found mental illness is a huge part of homeless problems. Yeah, absolutely. My opinion is we need to hit it on several fronts. And that's the point. That is definitely the point. That includes finding the mental help, jobs, cheap housing, for sure. I appreciate you, cowboy. Thank you. Thank you. And honestly, I respect all of you. Like the thing that I keep trying to point out, especially in these series, I'm sorry, I keep doing that. All those things need help. And socks, damn it. Exactly. Just to make things very clear, that's always been my push, is that we have to attack these things from several different viewpoints. But if you see somebody out who are saying, I'm pushing for, he has not said what you think he said, Maya, it's okay, you disagree, cool. One of the greatest things I've recently found is amicable disagreement. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm definitely not saying that we should not be pushing for resources. I am an advocate for a universal. You showed a comment where I said the opposite of what you said I was saying. Let me see here. Was it this one? It says, you don't respect my opinion, nor I yours. It's cool. That was that was the one that I put up. But I did. That's what you said though. Unless you did, is it a typo? What does the rest of it say? Let me go to it. You do not respect my opinion, nor I yours. It's cool. I'm not asking you to replace your opinion with my own. Just asking you to think about what you're asking. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Oh, down here. Talking about this one. I read that. It does not conform with what we've seen happen when people are given systemic resources to treat their issues in other countries. I acknowledge that. I said I agree with that. Which part? That's the part. No, I didn't overlook that. I literally said I agreed with that. I said because I kept bringing it back to my problem is this country isn't doing that right now. So what are some other things we can be doing while we're getting this country into that direction? And that's what it's just like if we have a program and we say, hey, we have this political plan that we're putting off. Yes, our children now can't afford a mortgage. we have these programs that we're trying to put in place. It's going to take, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years to get these programs into place. We got to get a candidate behind it. We have to get these other things behind it. And then he says, okay, hey, then I come out and I say, okay, well, while y'all are doing that, I'm going to go over here and talk to these people. And the ones that I think can, I'm going to say, here's some things that you can learn to help you out of this in the meantime. My problem is when people are doing the other part, I don't jump in and say, hey, don't do that. But when I start doing my thing, people jump in and say, hey, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. And I'm like, what? It's helping and it's not counteracting. Yeah, you trying to understand what you said is evidence to me. Yeah, that could be. We could be having a conflict of terms. But also, Maya, I know you're very passionate about your work, and I don't want to remove that from you, which is why I've been very careful to say I'm not against that in any shape, form, or fashion. But that's just not where I do the work.
Yeah. And I think because you had to live in that, my husband had to live on the streets, on people's front doors as a child. When you have two parents living there, not being parents, and this is a real passionate area of his because one was on drugs and one was married to a wife who didn't want children. And so when he did have to go to his father's house, he had to fend for himself. And so it was he literally had to live with other people and family members, bounce back and forth. And so that was his life. And because he operates off of extreme responsibility, that's the viewpoint he's going to have when it takes it, because when you listen to his whole story, go buy the book, by the way. When you listen to his whole story, you see why he thinks the way he does. Because my husband and I, we have disagreements, and I'll be like, no, you need to agree with me. That's I'll be on that.
I'm not an agreeable person. I'll let you know.
And
Maya, no, don't you shut up. But hold up. No, and it's not that. And babe, I'm gonna let you get the mic back. I promise. But Maya, I don't want you to think that I'm offended. I'm very passionate, for sure, for damn sure, and I have this deep, robust voice. But what we're doing right now is what I love. This is what I think we don't do enough of as humans. This is how we get out of our echo chambers.
Yeah, and you gotta flesh it out, Maya. We this is how my husband and I, we go like this.
I get you, yeah.
As well, and it's beautiful because my life, even though I grew up with just my mom, I still grew up from a different vantage point, and so.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Many of society's troubles today can be attributed to the self-fulfilling prophecy of billions of people believing in the Canaanite Highlander war god. So true. Thank you, Benjamin. And then what happens when when over half the world believes in Armageddon, and in a sick world, which can only be fixed with magic and miracles? That it's a true issue. It's a true issue. And Maya, thank you for the vulnerability of sharing this here as well. Yeah, it's real. Like so many of us have been touched, and this is one of the reasons why I still say I respect your opinion, because here's the thing that I know about life. I don't take the word respect too seriously, as it can be a whole range of meanings for damn sure. This is why I still say I respect your view, because it's when it comes to things of society, there is no absolute truth as far as how to perceive with helping. Sociology is not predictive, it's reflective. And so many of us will think we have the right way. But the truth of the matter is, when two people can stick their hands into the same socket, and their experience with that electrocution will be very different. Two people can experience homelessness, and their experience with coming out of that will be very different. Absolutely. Yes. I'm a debater. I love, yes, people think it's bad when people disagree. That's right. How do you have an argument when you don't? That's right. How do you come to, yes. And
we had a whole session on that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Remember, we had a session on where we talked about disagreements doesn't have to lead to disconnection, because there are multiple ways to solve problems, and we need every viewpoint to do that.
Yep. And Maya, thank you though, because even you just adding that number one, you being willing to stay in the conversation.
Yeah,
people duck conversations with me
because me, honey, I'll be like
going somewhere.
I'm not doing.
But thank you for staying in the conversation, because I think that's what the community needs to see. Our community come to an agreement. I thought about that when I read it. But it's important for the community to see this. And I think, Maya, you and I may have talked about this before. I don't know who it was, but I know we talked about the idea, even the idea of us all agreeing. It was you, Maya. You put it in the chat before. Even the idea of us all agreeing on the same thing is going to be somewhat unrealistic. But we definitely, especially after what we're seeing in this country, we definitely got to learn how to disagree. And we got to learn how to have conversations. And we have to learn how to hear through the differences of those disagreements. Which I do want to highlight something that Maya said that I didn't call out as much, but it deserves attention. And the thing that she wanted of me, and this is a good faith conversation, is I want to make sure that you understand what you're asking. She said, I wanted you to consider that you understand what you're asking. And I love that. It does. It was, you did it. We're giving it to you. Oh man, babe, we've been in here an hour and 30 minutes. We have not got to the last part. And maybe we should just save this for another time. What do you think? Yeah. We'll save it for another time. Let's see what they think. Hit that button. Yes, hit that button. Pragmatic Crystal is okay, I'm gonna stop. Keep doing it. You're the conductor. We were going to spend the last half of this conversation kind of walking you through our organization, which is DLDD World Group. You see it mentioned every now and then. Argument is the only way to learn something new. I argue with people about their gods and politics. Absolutely. Man, that's funny. Oh God, I don't know why people pay attention. Because maybe you were chosen for such a time as this. Oh yes, we did. We opened up at the beginning, the first Sunday in July. What is the first Sunday in July? First Sunday in July, ex-pastor show, of course.
Oh, the 7th.
Yep, right? It's the 7th. Real talk, though. I feel this is a good preview of how to deal with disagreements when this community things gets bigger.
Yeah.
Very well said, Joe. Absolutely. I agree. I 100% agree. This is something that I've been missing.
Yes, new week, new month.
Next week. Oh, it is next week. Ex-pastor call-in show is next week. This is something that I've been missing. And these will be my final thoughts, and I'll hand it over to you. This is something that I've been missing. My past few years as a pastor, it became increasingly aggravating to me that everybody had to agree. And whatever people had to agree. 5 Central. It's 5 Central, right? 5 Central. Yeah. But everybody had to agree. And then even coming out of ministry, being an atheist in the closet, is not having enough conversations with people of diversity of thought. And so there's one of my books that I haven't published. It's been written for quite a while. It's called The Case of Religion. The main reason I have not produced that book or haven't published that book yet. Oh, that's for us, for the team, production team. The main reason I hadn't, main reason I haven't published that book yet is because I wanted to have other diverse thoughts on this idea. I knew that as far as what I want to write this book about for the case of religion, I know that I have a pretty good view from my side. But I also realized that there are people who were reformed. There were people who have relationships with religions that are outside of the Western perspective. And so I didn't want to write a book that was about something so big without fully including other people's perspective in it. One thing I realized about me a long time ago, well, a little bit less than 10 years ago, is that power is not what I thirst for. Money is not what I thirst for. Knowledge is. Yeah. And the moment I realized that like knowledge is really my thirst, I realized that I am not the prototype of knowledge. That the only way that I could ever really keep my finger and my pulse on knowledge is to actually have good relationships with other people who think differently and see the world differently and have that different vantage point. I don't have the capacity to see the whole world. So we learn it through each other. Science, bacon. I love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it. We will talk more about DLDD World Group on a later broadcast. I think, not to say, not to use that pastor language, but I think the spirit moved. I think God got done what God wanted to get done today.
No, and I hope you. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Darante and I. And if you get anything from me, just know that I love people and I want people to be treated right, with love and respect. And I grew up seeing that fakeness, if you will, sometimes within church, where they say love everybody and they really don't love everybody, treat everybody right, and they really don't treat everybody right. They go behind your back and talk about you, whatever the case is. But I really want to see people do well. I want to see us thrive, and that's everybody, including those who aren't as informed yet. And so a lot of what you get from me comes from that place.
Yeah. Okay. And I think a lot of what you get from me comes from being an orphan. That's where I lived like that for a long time. I lived like an orphan, and it was it wasn't until I deconverted and deconstructed where I even realized that much of that was my own superstitious thinking, my own magical thinking, social constructs and all. Because my major breakthrough in life, and this is personal, and this is something that I often tell people when I share things about my life, I'm not trying to say you got to do this for your life. I'm saying this is what worked for me. This is what I had to do to protect my sanity. But I had to very much realize that family was a social construct of a bunch of primates. These are a bunch of apes, and just because we've crafted a construct doesn't mean these apes are going to confine to it. They're going to do whatever the hell they want to do. My dad is very much that type of guy. He was, he fucked around and found out. Somebody got pregnant. He never signed up to be a father, and so therefore never did anything in his life to be one. And then I realized it took me like 38 years. Now this is for me. I'm not saying anybody else has to do this, but not 38. But it took me like 32 years, 33 years to get to the place to actually be able to admit to myself that he never signed up to be a father. Because my religious viewpoint was children are a gift from the Lord. God makes no mistakes. And you're supposed to be my father. You're supposed to be my mother. And once I kind of separated myself from this, I'm like, no, you were two teenagers who really wasn't taking life very seriously, nor have you, done anything since then to take your life very seriously as far as the kids you brought into this world. And so my attachment to you as a father, my attachment to you is actually what's out of order. My expectations of you are unrealistic. I have no evidence to even have these expectations. And that was a conversation that I actually had with both of my parents, that I no longer have these expectations of you. Because for me, because I grew up as an orphan, it was killing me. It was killing my mental health. Yes, being genuine, for damn sure. But and so now I definitely try to make decisions that keep my my health prioritized. And it's primarily because, like, I realize I can help more people this way. Man, me breaking down every other, you don't like that. You don't like that. But this has been a great conversation, babe. I'm gonna let you close us out. Well, next week's conversation. Do you want to tell them what the name of next week's conversation is? We're starting a new series next week.
Can I say please?
Please don't stop the music.
Please don't stop the music.
But the name of the conversation is Table Dancing. Next week, the name of the conversation is Table Dancing, and you don't want to miss it. Actually, contrary to the name, there will not be strippers at this event. But it will be a pretty good conversation. We're starting to Please Don't Stop the Music, trying to find some type of harmony in all of this chaos. And I think we got a little bit of that harmony in this one. Yes, I knew Maya was gonna like it. Table dancing, I love it. Do I need dollar bills? Oh man, I love it.
We should. Oh my gosh, we should play that clip of the girl dancing in the restaurant, and they told her.
Oh yeah, there was. Oh man, I used to do a show on another channel called, and the name of the show is Together Tuesdays. Pastors always be wanting money. You see that? Any excuse to get $1. You see me, Wes? Table dancers next Sunday for everybody. Table dancers for everybody.
Come on and eat. Strippers and eat.
Oh man, you probably would, right? I don't see very many complaints coming from that at all. Oh my goodness, babe, what story was I about to tell? I felt like I was about to tell a story. Nope, I can't remember. It's gone. That rabbit is gone. Okay.
You talking about dancing, getting the girl, the clip from the restaurant?
Oh yeah, I used to have a show called Together Tuesdays that we were doing for the Black community, just talking about little different issues. And we got in a conversation where there was a restaurant. I don't know if it was in Atlanta or Texas, but a young lady was dancing on the table, twerking, and it wasn't a strip club. You get a table dancer, and you get a table dancer, and you get a table dancer. Me, Darrell, in the stream again, right now. Have a great weekend, Destination Serenity. We love you all. Okay, babe, I'm handing it over to you for the closing.
Yes. Well, thank you all for tuning in. As you already know, if you haven't already, go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe. When you get off the stream, go ahead and post another comment for us. That would be great.
Oh yeah.
Also, we would love for you to join the community, volunteer. We have so many ways you can help build this online community, which we call BridgeCity Global, bridging the gap, connecting each other. If you want to be autonomous and start something in your local community, we want you to be involved. We want to help provide those resources, those connections, and also just by listening, attending, participating. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, PC. Thank you, Paying Homage, Cowboy Boots, everybody, Destination Serenity, all Mr. Difficult.
Yes.
Much love to everybody. We so appreciate your support, and let's support each other channels. I know Darante and I, we jump in and out each day when you all have something going on, and y'all have some great content. So go support everyone. Benjamin, thank you so much for and Chris for your super chats. We greatly appreciate it. It keeps us going with the financial support. We're able to increase our quality, increase our quantity of the content that we're bringing to you, and also continue to build our community resources and things that we would love to see even beyond just the online space. So we definitely need it. We definitely appreciate it. Also, the merch, we're going to work on the poor fellas and the yikes.
Poor fella, yikes, and preach, damn it. I won't preach, damn it, on the shirt.
Yes. And funny note, if you notice about me, I don't use profanity, and the reason is because I don't smoke, drink, or curse because I just never got in the habit of it since I was younger, and so those are just things I don't do. But so that's
do all of those things. All of those things.
I drink. I gotta slow down the sodas though. if you ever want to get me a Coke, buffalo wings, pizza.
Thank you, Benjamin.
I'll throw the links in the chat, you all, so you can keep in touch there. Fill out the forms if you are interested.
Yep.
We muchly appreciate it.
Oh, you dropped them in there quick. Yep. That's for everybody who wants to get connected on any type of way, whether you want to connect with us on the channel, connect with us in the community. I've been trying to tell her. I've been trying to tell her, cowboy. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh man. Yes.
Need to get on the other side. No, we greatly appreciate y'all. And yes, stay tuned for Jump In on Maya this evening, Skeptic Haven. Check everyone out.
There's so much that goes on Sundays, right?
Yeah, if you're going to get lunch or breakfast, whatever time's up, go ahead and eat. We appreciate you, and jump back in on those that we mentioned.
And if you bought my book, Christ Held Up, please leave a review.
Yes, go back and leave a review on Amazon. We definitely appreciate it.
All right. Well, I think that's all for today. So until next time, keep rising and be the bridge. We'll holler at y'all. We love y'all. Have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see y'all in Bad Science Sunday.